Hi everybody, it's Suzanne in Ohio. I have this project share with a couple new elements in it that I'd never tried before, and I just wanted to show you how impactful they turned out. So what I was creating was, again, what I call my little mini collages, mini art quilts, call them whatever you want. These are about the size of a large greeting card. And I started because I wanted to do a lot of slow stitching, and then I had to have a focal point and blah, 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 blah. So anyways, I think they turned out just stunning, and in real life they certainly are. I hope you can see that. So the main image is a mushroom with a collaged background and all kind of fiber elements added to give it some depth. So I just did another video talking about printing off my images onto fabric. You can go back and watch that and maybe learn something or get some ideas from that. But what I did here was to get these two focal point images. I went into my computer where I have a lot of my artwork as files, and I printed off these two different mushrooms on I think in this case I used that ready to print, prepared for printing fabric that you can buy in the quilt store, and that worked fine for here. And instead of stitching them down all the way around, I glued them on with Fabri-Tac fabric glue, and I'm real happy with them. I didn't know if I would be using glue instead of stitching around the edge, but it's just wonderful because it allows them to lay on the outside surface, which makes them look like they're being brought to the foreground. Now, when I printed my images out of my computer, I had done the original images with Inktense, and they are brilliant. But once I printed them on that prepared for printing fabric, they were too dull, not near as full of life as the originals. So I just went over them again with some Inktense pencils, and I used aloe vera, and I brightened them and shadowed them and did some things like that. But it's a simple process, but very, very effectual. So for those of you that are not sure, let me just say I have a background here, and in this case, I used duck cloth, a lightweight canvas type fabric. Duck is just very coarse, almost like you would make a tote bag or something out of. Not quite canvas, but almost. And I have a layer of batting under there, and in between, and then I laid down swatches, just scraps of all kind of fabrics. I didn't even care if the edges were straight. I personally love that raw edge look. And then I figured out a placement for my focal point and added all kinds of textural kind of lace and scraps and eyelash yarn and all kind of things that I had, and simply stitched them down. Now I do all my stitching like this by hand. You could do the major part on the sewing machine, but I wanted that slow stitch look, and I really stitched these heavily in a slow stitch look. I don't know if you can see it or not. There you can see some of it because the shadow makes it show up. But everything, not only are the elements stitched down, but all the backgrounds are slow stitched. Running stitch usually, but every now and then I put the swirlies in there and things like that. So these make a very handsome pair. Now what I will do with these is scan these off and create an image and save them for my journals or make greeting cards out of them, which I have many things I've made greeting cards out of. And they're just wonderful. On the back of both of these, I put these hanging corners, and you can break a little bamboo skewer and just rest it in between there, and it spans the whole width and holds the item flat as you hang it on the wall. And then all you have to have is one tiny little nail in the middle. You could also mount these on the front of a journal or some kind of a fabric book or a hardbound book, and make a journal out of your hardbound cover, or you can make a needle book or mount them on the front of tote bags. It doesn't matter what you do with them. They are stunning all by themselves. You know, the colors are in the oranges and browns because that's what I had and that's what went. But I don't want you to think about mushrooms as just a fall thing. I don't know why our brain goes there, but mushrooms grow all around the world on every continent except North and South Poles, and they grow every season of the year. And that's a fascinating botanical type um, learning curve. If you don't understand mushrooms or fungi, and it's just well worth watching some videos on YouTube or a documentary. And then I think what you do is you begin to appreciate them more and more. But back to the fact that these are fabric arts. So that's how I came up with these images. Out of my files, I loved how they looked glued on. So I went on to the next set. And what I did was I created a set of three because I had three images of birds that I had done some time ago. I had done this Carolina wren and this goldfinch and the chickadee. And all those images were in my computer, and I just printed them off and fussy cut them out. And in these cases, when I put the bird images on, I did pad them a little bit so they look three-dimensional. So let's talk about this one first. I put this on a soft image. It's kind of shabby chic, country French, Victorian, whatever you want to call that, because all those categories blend so much together. But I did a fussy cut roses out of a piece of fabric I had. This is a vintage dresser scarf linen, and these are just scrap fabrics and scrap laces. And then I did some couching here with some green cord that I had. Excuse me. I couched it down with embroidery stitches and a little scrap of lace here that almost makes it look like he's sitting behind a bouquet. Whatever you've got, use it. And again, it has the hanging corners on it. Let's see if I can get this camera to focus again now. All right. So the next one is the goldfinch. And I just positioned him on a cluster of greenery. I embroidered some little flowers on here with a bullion stitch. So you can't really decipher that he's sitting in a bush, but in your brain knows that he is. And I had a cutout of a lace sprig, and I stitched it right on there and then embroidered the veins through it. Now on each one of these I also put some of these little stamps that I had printed on fabric, and I'm sorry I don't recall what Etsy seller I got those from, but I had a whole sheet of stamps. And then the last one is this Carolina wren as if she's sitting on a nest, and I embroidered a lot of French knots and a branch right there, and all the rest of this stuff is just, I mean literally, crumbs and scraps of laces that I had. Whatever it took to form the whole collage and get a congruent look to it. And those are my latest little mini quilts. Again, the hanging corners right there. So, if you're going to make something, you need a focal point. Think about your artwork, your children's artwork, or maybe an Etsy image that you have purchased, and you could print it on prepared for printing fabric, cut it out, and use it as an applique. Look how magnificent these are. Really, really eye-catching and pretty all at the same time. Oh my gosh, I was so happy with this project. And I don't know why I love mushrooms, but always have. I was a mushroom photographer for years until my Pentax camera kind of went bust, and then there was quite a few years before we had iPhones with good cameras. But I have wonderful photographs of some wild mushrooms. I just loved hunting for them. And on my Pentax camera, I had a macro lens, and I got gorgeous photographs. Someday I'll run across those again in my storage stuff. But images. So here's what my images look like before I cut them out. I printed them off. Some of them do have a background, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to cut it away. And there was the goldfinch, only I flipped him. So you saw him in the reverse position. And the Carolina wren, I flipped her too. And let's see, what do I have here? Oh, I have some images from an Etsy seller. So I will possibly cut these out and do the same thing with them. So I think these were Tracy Fox. I want to give credit where credit is due. But what I did was I always chop down my images and isolate one image and then enlarge it to the size I want. So on this piece of paper I placed 1, 2, 3, 4, and I wanted to have them go in a different position than the original was, and I wanted them larger. So don't forget, you can play around with the images that you buy from your Etsy sellers if that suits your project. All right, I appreciate everybody for watching, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. It is cold, windy, wet day here in Northeast Ohio, early spring, but warm weather is coming. So be creating. Don't forget to create something every day. All right, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Come back again soon. Bye.